The cold metal shackles dug into Sergeant Coldrax's wrists as two towering alien guards dragged him into the brightly lit interrogation chamber. The room smelled of sterilized steel and something faintly metallic, blood perhaps. The walls were smooth, curving seamlessly into the ceiling, a clear display of the Zorthan Empire's advanced engineering. Before him, lounging on an obsidian throne, sat Overlord Vrexus, a reptilian warlord with emerald scales that shimmered under the artificial light. His golden eyes gleamed with amusement as he observed the battered human soldier before him. "Well, well," Vrexus hissed, his voice a deep rumble that echoed through the chamber. "A human. And not just any human, one of your so-called elite warriors." His scaled lips curled into a smirk. "Tell me, little primate, how does it feel to be at the mercy of your betters?" The room erupted with laughter. Alien officers from various species stood around the chamber, their elongated forms shaking with amusement. Some had multiple arms, others had eyeless faces that twitched with mirth, but they all shared one thing: utter contempt for the human in chains. Cole, still on his knees, tilted his head slightly, his steel-gray eyes scanning the room. No panic, no fear, just quiet observation. His breathing remained steady, controlled. The aliens wanted a reaction: anger, desperation, maybe even pleading. He gave them nothing. A burly, four-armed alien stepped forward and struck him across the face, sending a sharp jolt of pain through his skull. "Look at him," the brute barked. "Not even begging. Pathetic." Cole slowly turned his head back toward his captors, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. He exhaled, slow and measured. Still no reaction. Vrexus leaned forward, his clawed fingers tapping against the armrest. "Oh, I see," he mused, his amusement deepening. "You humans are stubborn creatures, brave in the face of death, yes? I admire that, truly." His voice darkened. "But make no mistake, you are going to die here." Another round of laughter filled the room. Cole finally spoke. "Funny," he murmured, his voice just loud enough to cut through the noise. Vrexus' amused expression faltered. "Excuse me." Cole raised his head fully now, his gaze locking onto the overlords. "I said, funny." He licked the blood off his lip, a slow, deliberate movement. "You think I'm the one who should be afraid." The laughter died down. A flicker of confusion rippled through the gathered aliens. Cole smiled. It wasn't the smile of a man who had given up. It wasn't even the forced bravado of a soldier trying to act tough. It was a knowing smile. A dangerous one. "You're all so proud of yourselves," Cole continued, "thinking you've captured some helpless human. Thinking you've won." He leaned forward slightly. "Let me ask you something. Do you know what today is?" Vrexus narrowed his eyes. "What nonsense is this?" Cole's smile widened just a fraction. "It's the anniversary of the Battle of Epsilon Ivy. You know, the one where an inferior human squad wiped out an entire Zorthan battalion. The one where you lost 3 warships and an admiral in under 10 minutes. Vrexus' jaw tightened. Cole's voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. "Do you know what else happens today?" A distant alarm blared. Every alien officer in the room stiffened. Their laughter had long since died. Cole didn't laugh. He just waited. Another alarm. Then another. Red emergency lights flickered to life, washing the once pristine chamber in a blood-colored glow. Vrexus snapped toward a nearby console. "Report," he barked. A nervous alien technician frantically typed at the glowing holopanel. "Sir, unidentified signals just appeared in high orbit. Multiple. No, dozens. The technician's words caught in his throat. His already pale skin turned a sickly shade of white. "Sir," he whispered, his voice trembling. "They're human." Silence. Cole exhaled, stretching his fingers against the cold metal of his shackles. "You should have killed me when you had the chance," he said, his voice eerily calm. The sound of distant explosions rocked the facility. The ceiling trembled. The ship's artificial gravity flickered for a split second. Cole finally laughed. A deep, slow chuckle that sent a chill through every alien in the room. The humans weren't here to negotiate. They were here to finish the war. Panic erupted in the alien war chamber. Officers scrambled to their consoles, their laughter now replaced with frantic shouting. Emergency sirens blared, their sharp wails echoing through the cold metallic halls of the Zorthan flagship. Overlord Vrexis rose from his throne, his reptilian eyes burning with rage. Impossible, he snarled, slamming a clawed fist onto his armrest. No human fleet could have gotten past our defense grid. Cole remained on his knees, still bound in chains, still calm. His smile hadn't faded. Funny thing about humans, he said, his voice steady. We like making the impossible happen. One of the alien officers turned, his elongated face contorted in panic. Sir, we're detecting cloaked vessels inside the perimeter. They must have been here for hours, hidden right under our noses. Vrexis whirled around. How? Our sensors are the most advanced in the galaxy. Cole tilted his head. Yeah, about that. Another explosion shook the chamber, this time much closer. The ship's artificial gravity flickered again, and the holoscreens on the walls glitched, distorting the fleet's battle readiness status. Cole let out a slow breath, right on schedule. You see, he continued, rolling his shoulders against the weight of his restraints, you aliens think you're so advanced, so untouchable. You rely on technology you barely understand. Meanwhile, we humans, we study our enemies. We learn, and then we adapt. The alien technician at the console gasped in horror. Sir, our security systems. He looked up, fear in his many eyes. They've been hijacked. Vrexis froze. What? The technician swallowed hard. Sir, the human fleet didn't just arrive. They've been listening. The moment we activated the prisoner containment protocols, they infiltrated our systems. His hands trembled over the glowing holoscreen. They have control over our defenses. The Overlord's rage turned to fear. His talons flexed, his tail twitching in frustration. This is a trick, he bellowed. A desperate bluff. Cole just smirked. The first wave must have breached the docking bay by now. A metallic hiss filled the chamber as the blast doors locked down, but it was too late. The ship shook violently as something massive impacted its outer hull. They were here. Cole took a deep breath, his heartbeat steady. The real battle was just beginning. The entire warship trembled as distant explosions roared through the corridors. The once pristine command chamber now flickered with failing holoscreens, red warning symbols flashing over every console. The humans had breached the ship. Overlord Vrexis gritted his fangs, his claws flexing in frustration. Seal the lower decks, he barked. Deploy the elite guard, kill every last one of them. The alien officers rushed to comply, but their fear was palpable. They had never seen humans infiltrate a Zorthan flagship before. It wasn't supposed to be possible. Cole remained on his knees, his hands still bound in energy shackles. He tilted his head, listening. The gunfire was getting closer. The rapid, sharp bursts of human assault rifles mixed with the deeper plasma blasts of the Zorthan defenders. Vrexis noticed his expression and sneered. Don't look so hopeful, human. This is a suicide mission. Your fleet is outnumbered 10-1. Cole chuckled. Yeah, about that. Suddenly, the entire ship lurched, not from an explosion, but something far more alarming. A sudden power surge. The lights flickered, and for a brief second, gravity failed completely. The alien technician at the console let out a terrified screech. Sir, the main reactor, it's overloading. The humans have taken engineering. Vrexis whirled around, his eyes wide. What? Cole's smirk widened. Told you. We learn fast. The Overlord's nostrils flared, his tail whipping in frustration. You dare sabotage my ship. You will die with us. Cole exhaled slowly. You really don't get it, do you? He lifted his shackled hands slightly, letting them rest on his knees. This isn't about me. It's about humanity. And we never fight alone. Vrex's rage twisted into something else. Unease. The ship trembled again. But this time, it wasn't from an explosion. Outside the massive viewport, the blackness of space shifted. Something huge emerged from the darkness. A second fleet, more human warships, decloaking. Vrex's eyes widened in horror. The trap was complete. But then, something went wrong. A sudden blast of energy surged through the ship, knocking Cole to the floor. A distorted voice crackled over the failing intercom. Commander Drax, do you read me? There's a problem. Zorthan reinforcements just arrived. We're losing control of the reactor. Cole's smirk vanished. The plan was unraveling. They had minutes before everything went to hell. The warship trembled violently, metal groaning under the strain of the chaotic battle. Emergency sirens wailed across the command chamber as red warning lights bathed the walls in a hellish glow. The once mighty Zorthan flagship, the pride of their fleet, was now a battlefield. Cole gritted his teeth, his body aching from the impact of the last explosion. His energy shackles flickered, the system struggling due to the failing power grid. Almost there. Overlord Vrexis clawed at the control panel, his reptilian eyes darting between the collapsing shield barriers and the incoming human fleet. His elite guards had already formed a defensive perimeter, weapons trained on the entrance. They knew what was coming. The ship shuddered again, and this time, the distant roar of gunfire grew dangerously close. Cole smirked. Right on time. The blast doors exploded inward, sending molten metal flying across the chamber. Through the smoke and fire, human soldiers poured in, their rifles blazing. Plasma bolts and gunfire filled the room in a chaotic symphony of war. Cole rolled to the side, shielding himself as a stray blast struck the ground where he had been kneeling moments ago. His squad had arrived, but they were outnumbered. Vrexis roared, leaping from his throne. Kill them all. Show no mercy. The battle erupted at full force. Humans and Zorthans clashed in brutal combat, bodies hitting the floor as both sides fought for survival. The smell of scorched metal and burning flesh filled the air. Cole felt his restraints flicker again, this time for good. The system was completely failing. With a final surge of strength, he broke free, ripping the deactivated shackles from his wrists. Now it was his turn. He lunged forward, grabbing a fallen Zorthan's weapon and fired point-blank at the nearest guard, sending the alien crashing to the floor. Adrenaline surged through his veins. But even as his team pushed forward, Cole knew they were running out of time. The intercom crackled to life, and a desperate voice shouted over the static. Commander, the reactor's going critical. We need to evacuate, now. Cole cursed under his breath. They had to end this. Fast. Vrexis, bleeding from a deep wound on his arm, glared at him with pure hatred. You think you've won, human. The Overlord hissed. Even if you kill me, this ship will take you all with it. Cole locked eyes with him. Then let's make sure you go first. He charged forward. Cole charged forward, dodging plasma fire, his stolen rifle raised. Overlord Vrexis roared in fury, drawing a serrated energy blade. Sparks flew as their weapons clashed in a brutal final duel. The ship groaned violently, its structure failing as explosions rocked the decks. Smoke filled the chamber, alarms screaming warnings of imminent reactor meltdown. Time was running out. Cole ducked under a wild slash, then drove his rifle's butt into Vrexis's gut, sending the alien stumbling back. Seizing the moment, he raised his weapon. But Vrexis lunged with a desperate snarl, impaling Cole's side with his blade. Cole gasped, pain flaring through his body. But he didn't hesitate. He grabbed Vrexis by the throat, ripping the blade out of his own flesh with sheer force, then plunged it straight into the Overlord's heart. Vrexis stiffened, his eyes wide in shock. Blood seeped from his lips as he collapsed, lifeless. Cole staggered, his vision blurring. The intercom crackled. "Commander, the ship's about to blow. We have to go." Cole glanced at Vrexus's corpse, then at the chaotic battle still raging. But he knew the fight was over. He activated his comm. "All units, fall back. Evacuate. Now." His team dragged him toward the escape shuttles, supporting his injured body. As they launched away from the flagship, the massive warship behind them erupted in a fiery explosion, consumed by its own failing reactor. As the shockwave rippled through space, Cole slumped back in his seat, exhaling sharply. The battle was won. Humanity had defied the odds again. But he knew this was only the beginning.